This lesson is on section 11-9 called Volume of Prisms. So in order to find the volume of a prism, you have to multiply the length times the width times the height. So all we're doing here is multiplying three different units of measure. We're going to multiply the length, L, width, W, height, H. So for example, we're going to find the volume of a prism, and this is a rectangular prism. You can just think of it as a 3D rectangle, for example. So we're going to multiply the length times the width times the height. Now don't get super confused with, okay, which one's the length, which one's the width, or which one's the height. Think of the height as how tall something is. The length is how long something is. And the width is how wide something is. So the length we're going to call is 7. That's how long this object is. So the volume equals my length times my width times my height. So my length is 7. Again, I'm just plugging in for numbers for my equation. My width is how wide something is. So in this picture, my width right here is 4. Okay, that's how wide something is. And then my height is how tall something is. So my height is 3. So then all I'm going to have to do is multiply. So I'm going to say 7 times 4 is 28. Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote 24. 7 times 4 is 28. And then 28 times 3, well, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to say 28 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Carry the 2. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So 24 times 3 is 84. And then, now I just have to include my units. Well, it looks like all my units here are in meters, so I'm just going to say this is meters. And because there's 3 dimensions to volume, we're going to say it's meters to the 3rd power, or meters cubed. So this is my final answer. Again, I'm just multiplying my length times my width and times my height. And because multiplication is commutative, it doesn't really matter what order you put the 7, the 3, and the 4 in. So, if you technically don't understand which one's the length, the width times the height, you can still multiply the numbers together and still get the final answer. So let's try another one. Example 2, find the volume of this next prism. Okay. So we know the volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so let's plug in our numbers. Okay, my length is how long something is. So this is my length. So 5 is my length. And then my width is how wide something is. So here's my width. So my width is 7. And now my height is how tall something is. So my height is 6. So I'm just going to have to multiply these digits. 5 times 7 is 35. And then 35 times 6. Again, I can do this math off to the side. 35 times 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 3 is 18. Plus 3 is 21. So my answer is 210. And then I always have to include my units. So then my units are centimeters. And again, because there's 3 dimensions that we're dealing with volume, it's centimeters to the 3rd power. So that's it. That's how you solve volume. Again, in order to solve volume, you're going to multiply your length times your width times your height. It's that easy. Thanks for watching.